You probably all remember this classic moment from Ballard Jr, but for those of you who either don't remember or haven't seen this before, I won't spoil what happened quite yet. The final frame has been replayed countless times, but what happened before this? I thought it would be cool to break down the entire title match to see what happened and look at this infamous and shocking ending to the match. So let's rewind to the start of the match and look at the telecast as a whole very briefly. It was the 1991 Fairlanes Open, and Ballard Jr had to come through 2 matches to reach the final to meet Pete Weber. Ballard defeated Robert Lawrence throwing a 247 game and then beat Norm Duke with a 257 to Norm's 223. So it was a pretty dominating performance for Ballard for the first 2 matches, and you can see the shot here was on the outside part of the lane and Ballard was frequently flirting with the gutter, but clearly his scores prove that it was an effective strategy. Let's take a look and see if it will continue to pay off in the title match against Pete Weber. Interestingly, at this point, Pete Weber was in the process of appealing a 6-month ban from the PBA Tour for conduct unbecoming of a professional. The reason for the ban was that Weber was already on probation for previous tour rules that he had broken, but he felt the punishment was unfair in this situation and was therefore making an appeal. But enough of the intro, let's look at what actually happened during the match. Both players started with a strike, but Weber's second shot made the pocket but was high and left a 9-pin. Ballard doubled, but then threw quite possibly his worst shot of the day so far. He was way inside and went through the nose and left the 3-4-6-7 and then missed everything going into the gutter. Pete struck but then went through the nose on the left lane, and you can see the lanes have got quite tricky. There's definitely been transition by this point, and both players really don't have much margin for error at the moment. Ballard strikes after the open but again comes up high on the left lane, which definitely seems to be hooking a lot more for both players. So as Weber heads into the 5th, he leads by 12, but this shot almost seemed to just read as soon as it hit the lane and just didn't go far enough down the lane, and it was another 3-6-10 for Weber to deal with, but again, he managed to spare it. Weber back on the left lane, and again it's causing him some real issues as it's through the nose, but this time he pays the price as he leaves the 4-6-7 for an open frame, and now Ballard has a 5-pin lead, which he turns into a 15-pin lead after a timely double to begin to put a little bit of pressure on Weber. A 10-pin for Weber in the 7th, but he finally figures out the left lane for a strike in the 8th frame. Ballard's 8th frame was not a good shot as he didn't get the ball out anywhere near enough and was quite fortunate to only leave a 3-pin, which he spared. He did get a crucial strike in the foundation frame though. As we reach the conclusion of this match, clearly this has been a pretty tough one for both players, with the scores dropping off quite a lot compared to the previous matches. Weber manages to double in the 9th and puts in an excellent shot in the 10th to now take the lead. He ends up striking out in the 10th for a 2-13 game, and it was a very impressive finish given the trouble he was having on the left lane. This now meant that Ballard needed 2 strikes and 7 pins to win. His first shot was back on the outside of the lane where he had success in his previous matches, although it did come in very sharp and quite late, going slightly high, but he did carry all 10. His second shot was absolutely spot on though, and there was no doubt when it hit the pocket. You can see from his reaction that in the back of his mind, he sort of feels he's there, he's done the hard work, and the title is basically his. But we aren't done quite yet. He still needs 7 pins for the win, and let's just watch what happens.
And 7 pins is no gimme. We've seen when the players seem to miss, they get 7 or less, so it's not over yet.
Pete Weber got up. Look at Pete.
What has happened? Ballard, needing 7 pins, has thrown in the channel and handed the title to Pete Weber. He has won when Ballard just needed 7 pins. What a turnaround.
Even though I've seen this countless times, it's still pretty unbelievable, but unfortunately this was always a risk with the line he was playing. Now, there is the argument he could have just thrown the ball hard and fast down the middle, but there are risks with this strategy. You could hear the timely commentary of 7 pins is no gimme, and that is so true. You could easily go straight down the middle and leave some big split, so I feel he sort of had no choice but to stick with his normal strike shot. And I think the other issue he had was he had come inside a number of times on the right lane, which obviously he did not want to do because there was just no hold in the middle of the lane. Add the adrenaline into it, and he just pushed this one way too early down the lane. And when you compare the angle of this shot after the release, to me this gutter ball just looks like he got the ball out much straighter. Before, he seemed to be using the middle part of the lane to push the ball right out towards the gutter, but this shot was just right off his hand. You can see the Weber just can't believe it, and I don't think anyone in the building could either. Ballard was so good throughout this entire telecast, and after 2 clutch shots looked to have this one in the bag, but in the end it would be the most infamous moment of his career and one of, if not the most memorable PBA title matches of all time. But as always, I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. What would you have done in Ballard's position? Would you have taken the risky strategy of pushing out to the gutter, or needing 7 pins? Would you have just picked up maybe a plastic ball and just thrown it straight down the middle and hope for the best? Let me know what you think would be the best strategy in this case, because it is a difficult one. When you need 7 pins, you feel like it is a bit of a risk just going straight down the middle. But we have seen players do it. I mean, Pete Weber did it himself in the, I think it was the 2004 US Open when he played Brian Voss, and I think he needed, it was either 7 or it might have even been 8 pins, and he just took his spare ball and just threw it straight down the middle. So we have seen players do it, but I guess there's 2 different schools of thought. But yeah, I probably would have been more tempted to do what Ballard did and kind of hope for the best. But unfortunately, this shot was just, as I said, it just was so far right off his hand, and really it just had no chance of coming back at all. A real heartbreaker for Ballard, obviously, and yeah, just one of the most memorable moments in PBA history. So that's going to do it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. If there's any other classic PBA telecast that you'd like me to do this sort of video for, let me know in the comment section below. And if you have enjoyed what you've seen today, I would really appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button as well. So as always, thank you, bowling fans, and see you all next time.
It's Weber's championship.
Two Tigers on the approaches here at Fairlane's King Point. Oh, no. Even Pete Weber got up. Look at Pete.
Look at this,
Feeling
Chris.
terrible for his opponent.
What has happened? Ballard, needing 7 pins, has thrown in the channel and handed the title to Pete Weber.